Right, well, I think we'll get started if that's all right with everybody. So I'm hoping that everybody can see our little slides that we've got going here. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction to Uttlesford Business and what we've got going on for our Startup September before I pass over to Annie for our webinar today on sustainability. So just to kind of tell everybody a little bit more about kind of who we are, I suppose, at Uttlesford and what we've got on offer. So you've obviously come to this webinar. We've got 3 more. We've got 1 more tomorrow and 2 next week if anybody wants to sign up for any of those. So tomorrow's is on finance and startup finance. The one next Tuesday is on in Instagram strategy for beginners. She talks a bit about reels and creating reels. I know that for me is something that I get my head boggled about. So if anybody wants to know any more about that, then please come along to that one. And then the final one is starting a business from home, working from home. And that's all about kind of the logistics of working from home and setting up a business at home. Most of us obviously start a business at home and then maybe we do move into premises, but it's about kind of prioritizing your work and your home life and kind of the space you have for your business at home. So that's that one. So if anybody wants to sign up for any of those, then please do head to the website and then sign up for any of those ones. We've got business coaching. These are all fully funded coaching sessions. You get a total of 8 hours business coaching. 6 hours of those are done online within a little group. So there's up to 6 people in each group, and the peer groups are women in business. We've got 1 more space, I think, available on that one. I came with an idea and left with the business. We've got a couple of spaces still on that one. And how to build a business, again, there's 1 space for that one. So if anybody's interested in applying for that coaching, great opportunity to kind of meet other business owners that are kind of in a different, obviously at different stages within their startup, and just answering questions in a group situation. So it might be that might be something you're interested in. Again, sign up for that if you would like to. Finally, the last kind of couple of bits about Startup September that we've got going on is a business grant that we've got available to any startup businesses, and also kind of early stage businesses, so up to 3 years of trading. So that one again is on the website, so have a little look. I think there's just been a little note in the chat. Let me just see, Tricia, if that was you. Tried to join the room but think it was full is another one. I don't think it is full, so if you have sent an email, I will double check after this webinar and I'll send you a note, because I haven't had a full kind of set of applications for that one, so I'll let you know after the webinar if that's all right, Tricia. Oh no, it's not Tricia, sorry, Katrina. Sorry, my fault. Wrong person. Super. Right, next thing is we've got a free download on the website, which is a startup guide. This was put together earlier this year. Just kind of takes you through everything we feel you might need to think about if you're starting a business. So please take a look at that. Hope you find it useful. We've also just redone our website. So the new website for Uttlesford Business is business.uttlesford.gov.uk, and within that we've got a business directory that we're trying to populate. We've got quite a lot of businesses already on there. If you've started your business or in the early stage, then obviously you are more than welcome. It's a free directory to join, so please take the opportunity to use that so that other businesses can have a look and see whether they might want to collaborate with you, and then obviously residents themselves can come along and have a look at what businesses we've got within our district. Our next in-person event is our business breakfast, which is on the 5th of October, so in a couple of weeks. It's at the Novotel at London Stansted from 8 till 10. That doesn't say that there, but it's 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock in the morning. There's a few workshops that we've got going on, one again about marketing, one about finance, one about the support that's available, and it's also a great opportunity to network with other business owners. So please come along to that if you are available. Again, sign up on our website. Stay connected with us with our newsletter. It's a great way if you want to know what's going on, what events we've got going on, or what training opportunities there are, then please do sign up for our website. Again, there's a link for that on our website. And this is just us. That's an old picture of myself, but that's the team here at Uttlesford Business. So you've got myself, Andy and Sarah. We're always on hand to signpost you in the right direction if we don't know the answer. So please do feel free to email us or give us a call if that's the easiest way, or we can always meet up. So yeah, just let us know and we can signpost you in the right direction. So that's all from me. If you have got any questions afterwards, obviously just let me know. But it's now time for me to pass over to our lovely guest speaker, Annie, who's going to talk us through all things sustainable. So welcome, Annie, and I'll pass over to you and just let me know when you want me to move the slides on.
Thanks so much, Rachel. Yeah, and yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity here to talk to all the attendees, whether that is today in person, online, or anybody who's watching the recording. So thanks for joining us. Yeah, so if we move on, I'll just give you a little bit of an introduction about myself. So I'm actually based in Northumberland. If you've ever been up here, you may have been through or past Morpeth. And that's where I am based. In terms of my background, I have a long career in environmental science and also with a business background as well. So I have an undergraduate degree in environmental science and a master's in conservation biology. I've taught remote fieldwork skills in East Africa. I've produced radio and TV programs. I've worked for a large telecoms company in their customer service and customer experience departments. I've run a not-for-profit. I've consulted for the World Bank, and I've also won a couple of awards at MIT University at their climate change competition. I also am, in my spare time, somebody who volunteers for my local council as a climate champion. I am the chair for Climate Action Wansbeck, my local action group. I'm a spokesperson for a divestment group as well. And I'm also eco-renovating my home just to demonstrate all the things that people can do in their own buildings as well. In terms of my work, I mainly do training, webinars, workshops and coaching. So my bread and butter is carbon literacy courses, and they're all about helping people understand what climate change is, what they can do and how they can reduce that problem. They're targeted towards different audiences, including individual personal lifestyles, small businesses, marketing professionals, local governments and community groups. In terms of my coaching, I help small businesses overcome their sustainability challenges. That might be developing a whole new product suite. It may be looking at their sustainability plan, or just coming up with a new strategy or an employment engagement program. So lots of different things there. I'm also trying to be as environmentally friendly as possible in terms of what I do on a day-to-day basis. But unfortunately, despite all of this, I'm not an expert on everything that's sustainability or climate related. It's impossible for me to be able to do that. But what I do have is a great deal of knowledge and experience. I've got some fantastic research skills that mean that I can find an answer for you very quickly, or I can connect you to our ecosystem of experts that are all out there to be able to provide an answer for you. So if you want to, it would be great if you can pop into the chat anything about your business. I'd love to know what you're doing in terms of thinking about sustainability, any challenges that you may have, just anything that you've got any thoughts about there. I'd love to know a little bit more about what you're doing and what you're thinking. So if I go on to the next slide, that would be great. So a bit about what I'm going to talk about today. Well, a really good idea to think about what the benefits are about integrating sustainability into your business. And, you know, I'm going to back that up with a little bit of facts and figures there for you to say, this is what the research is saying too. And I'll introduce some general sustainability principles that you might need to think about and consider. I'm not going to go into too much depth, so don't worry about that. It's not a lesson. It's just an introduction to those to see what you might be interested in thinking about for your businesses going forward. And then we'll look at the next steps and how you can create your own sustainability roadmap. I'll talk to you about how I can help you with that task and integrating sustainability into your startup. And then we'll have a little bit of a recap with some key insights, and then we'll have that question and answer session. So as I say, do pop any questions in as we're going through the slides. So I'm sure you have recognized this person. This is Deborah Meaden. She's one of the business gurus on BBC's very successful entrepreneur program, Dragon's Den. And she tends to be the one that's most interested in sustainability as well. She's got her own podcast called the Big Green Money Podcast. And part of that podcast, she talks about that if you don't have sustainability as part of your business, you will fail. Now, I agree with what she's saying, but I'm kind of like trying to be not so brutal. I prefer to flip this around and say in a much more positive way that if you incorporate and focus on sustainability as part of your business, you will flourish. So, you know, this is about taking advantage of all of those things, making sure that you've got that built into your business, especially for you guys. You've got the opportunity to do this right from the beginning. So that means you've got a real advantage too. I would say do listen to her podcast. It features some interviews with some of the biggest companies in the UK. For example, Vauxhall talking about car clubs as the future for their business, and other companies like EasyJet who've decided to stop carbon offsetting, and discussions with smaller companies too. So it's a great little podcast if you're into knowing a little bit more about that area too. So a question for you this morning, if you can pop your answer into the chat. I'm going to ask you, what do you think about the percentage of UK adults that are concerned about climate change? How many do you think that is? Do you think that's maybe 5 or 10% of people? Do you think that's more about 20, 25? Or are we reaching the lofty heights of getting towards 50 to 60% of people? How about even more, 70 to 80, or even more than that? Remember, when this is, we're talking about UK citizens, we're talking about your family, your friends, your neighbours and your community, but also think about this applies to your customers, your suppliers, and also your competitors. Well, I've seen a few figures floating into the chat there as well. Actually, according to the survey conducted by the government in 2022, more than 80% of UK adults are concerned about climate change. So it really shows you that this is something that is at the forefront of people's minds. They may not know exactly what they need to do or how they need to do that, but there is concern among the UK general public, which is interesting to know. So by going green, you can then unlock a world of benefits that will boost your success and make a positive impact in your business as well. So when we think about how you can increase your profits and reduce your costs, this is by optimizing some resource usage and maximizing your operational efficiency. You can also attract a whole new customer base that values eco-friendly businesses. This will enable you to stand out from the competition and build a loyal following who share your sustainability values. Additionally, you can become a magnet for top talent by showcasing your commitment to the environment and offering a purpose-driven work environment. So that's not only about attracting talent, but it's also about retaining skilled individuals who want to make a difference. If you're thinking about growing your business, this is about the opportunity there that you can to make sure that you get the right people on board. It's also about protecting your brand. If you adopt an environmentally responsible practice, that's protecting your brand, because customers are increasingly supporting businesses that prioritize sustainability and ethical business practices. So they're the ones that they're going to be choosing, not just today, but also tomorrow. And also, as a startup, you might be thinking about funding. So investors are increasingly attracted to businesses that align their portfolios with sustainable initiatives. So demonstrating your commitment to the environment means that you've got a higher chance of securing investment. And I'll talk a few case studies later on that you might find interesting that demonstrate that in some really fantastic stories. You can also unlock some new funding opportunities by winning bids and grants specifically focused on sustainable projects, and leverage your green initiatives to access financial support for growth and innovation. We're seeing that more and more at the moment, where various different bids and funding rules are requiring people to demonstrate their sustainability, even just to enter into those bids and contracts. So prioritizing sustainability brings a whole wealth of different benefits to your business. They're just a few. If you've got any others that you can think of, do pop them into the chat as well. So I've mentioned all of those things, and it's not just me talking the talk. This is the research that's backing that up. And 72% of businesses recognize that climate change poses a significant risk to their operations, their revenue, and also their expenses. And 90% of CEOs understand that sustainability is crucial for their company's long-term success. Additionally, 88% of consumers are showing a strong loyalty to companies that support social and environmental causes. And 46% of businesses are demanding sustainability criteria from their supply chain. I'll go into a little bit about that later on, about how that might affect you. But again, that's all only going to increase as we move forward towards a net zero economy. So don't get excluded from doing business or ignore the advantage that sustainability can bring to your organization. And as I just mentioned about your workforce, as you grow and bring more people on board, 83% of UK-based workers felt in 2020 that their employers were not doing enough to tackle the climate crisis. And 63% of employees expressed a desire to develop green skills to enhance their value in the workplace. And additionally, 35% of employees are willing to leave their jobs if their employers only take weak climate actions. So the facts are out there, the figures are coming in, they're all supporting this idea that sustainability is not just good for the planet, it's not just good for our personal health, it's also good for business as well. And on the slide today, there's a few more bits of research that's come from a report that Accenture has conducted. And that's showing that stakeholders are really looking for businesses to step up their sustainability efforts. And yeah, it hits the bottom line as well. So companies that integrate innovation, sustainability, and trust outperform the competitors. They achieve a 3.1% higher operating profits and deliver superior returns for shareholders. So again, we're thinking about here how instead of battling for price and that being the only conversation that you're having with your customers, customers are willing to pay more for something that is more sustainable and more ethical. So it's a different way to position your business. It's a different way to have a conversation. It's a different way for you to stand out immediately from all the competitors that are just trying to go as low as possible. And in today's society and economy, we want to make sure that we're having a healthy, growing opportunity for people to make sure that their business are sustainable, not only from a planet perspective, but also from an economic perspective too. So how do we do that? How do we think about integrating sustainability into your startup? As I said before, you're in the best position because you're right at the beginning now, so you can integrate this from day one. I'm going to introduce, as I said, some concepts that you might want to think about and investigate, and maybe think about how that would apply to your business. And you can do some re-engineering, and it's a lot easier to do this now than further down the line. And yeah, all the advantages, as I mentioned before, will come to fruition. So there's some fairly basic stuff that we can start with here that's not too difficult, and that's thinking about our goals, our targets, our mission and vision. You may have already created this for your startup already, but with a little bit of a tweak and a little bit of a tinkle around, we can make those much more sustainability aligned. So think about having a clear and authentic sustainability mission that aligns with your business goals, and making that an integral part of your company's identity, your company's strategy, and thinking about mindset and culture as well. This is all about fostering from the beginning and growing your business in this way. And choose some goals for sustainability. They don't have to be mega goals. This could be just related to thinking about creating a sustainability plan, reducing your carbon footprint, or committing to the Race to Net Zero initiative, measuring your biodiversity impact, or measuring your water consumption, or thinking about working towards an accreditation such as B Corp. All of these things are goals, and therefore you can create a roadmap in order to achieve those goals. And it's not about doing it overnight as well. We don't expect anybody to do these things overnight. It's about making sure you have some positive steps towards those goals. And at the end of the day, don't be shy. If you communicate this on your website, in your socials, in your conversations with your clients, with potential investors, with your supply chain, this is about starting to create that culture and mindset. And it's really nice to have these conversations with people. People tend to be really interested. As I said, 80% of adults are concerned about climate change. Sustainability is not going away. It's going to be with us, and it's going to make sure that we're all on the same path. In some ways, we can compare this to the development of health and safety. So sustainability goes across all the business pillars. Sustainability also never takes a holiday. Sustainability is the responsibility of every department and every person. And I know as a startup, that means usually probably you. You're working across all these pillars and you're doing all these jobs. I understand, because I'm doing the same thing myself. Every job is a green job. When you're thinking of taking on new people, think about how you can incorporate that sustainability mindset and culture into that onboarding process, into their job description, thinking about how it applies to all of the different pillars. It also benefits every department as well. So it's a win-win situation. I've already mentioned about profits, so the sales and marketing department will benefit. I've already mentioned about hiring and retaining staff. So it's ubiquitous. It's something that, as everybody is moving towards this, it will become something that's across the whole of every business. It's not a pillar on its own. It's integrated throughout the whole company. And to give you an example about that, I'm going to talk to you about a case study. So I'm going to introduce a Net Zero Accelerator. If you can pop to the next slide, please, Rachel, that'd be great. So the Net Zero Accelerator is a program that I'm running. It's already set up in Scotland, and I'm delivering as an expert partner in the UK. This is a 12-month program where businesses are taken through a business transformation, and that involves training and coaching in order to help them reduce their carbon footprint and help them to reach a lower impact in terms of their emissions. There's a bit of carbon footprinting at the beginning, and then after the 12 months, there's another footprinting exercise, and businesses can walk away with an SECR report which demonstrates their reduction and their commitment to lowering their emissions. So if we just pop back to the previous slide, Rachel, that'd be great. Yeah, so this is Jamie. Jamie is part of one of the Net Zero Accelerator programs. He was a startup himself around about a year and a half ago. And he created this business, and what he does is he uses technology monitoring to be able to make sure that the big heavy plants are operating at their maximum efficiency. So think about making sure that the wind turbines are always operating as best as they can, and using planned maintenance so that they're down for the least amount of time as possible. Jamie came on to the Net Zero Accelerator program because he wanted to put sustainability at the forefront of his business. He knew that this was the key to him actually developing and creating and making his business the best that it could. So going through the program, he demonstrated his commitment to reducing emissions and being as sustainable as possible. And as a result, Jamie has won a 6-figure contract with an energy provider company. That energy provider company selected Jamie based on his sustainability criterion. And not only that, he's now asking Jamie to help the other suppliers for their energy provider to make them more sustainable as well. So he's become the shining example. He's also won £100,000 from a Dragon's Den style competition in Scotland, and he's grown his workforce from just himself to 10 employees in less than a year and a half. So Jamie's really taken on board this idea of business transformation. He started as a sole trader, as a startup, and now he's a very successful business because of this idea of putting sustainability at the forefront of his business. If you've got any thoughts about Jamie, do put them in the chat, whether that's inspirational or something that you would like to do yourself. That would be great. So moving on to the next idea. Another concept that you might want to investigate and think about is the circular business approach. And according to the United Nations, the extraction and processing of natural resources are responsible for around half of all global carbon dioxide emissions and over 90% of global biodiversity loss. So when we're thinking about the loss of species, it's about the fact that we're extracting all of these resources continuously. And according to a World Bank report, Water Waste 2.0, by 2050, the world is expected to generate about 3.4 billion tons of waste per year. And that's a 70% increase from the current 2 billion tons. And this report also says that at least 33% of our total waste generated today is not even treated. So I'll give you one very important example. At least of 1/3 of all food that is produced each year is wasted. And this waste throughout its life cycle generates around 8 to 10% of global annual greenhouse gas emissions. And this is almost 3 times the amount accounted for by flying. So when we're thinking about what kinds of impacts we could reduce, reducing food waste is not only good for the emissions and for climate change, but it's also good for us as humans, making sure that we've got enough food to distribute around to everybody. So one of these concepts is changing from our linear economy that we have at the moment over to a circular economy. So this linear economy that you see here on the left is a traditional take, make and waste model where we extract those resources, we use them and then we discard them. However, if we shifted to the model on the right, this is the sustainable circular economy where resources are being kept in use for as long as possible and we minimize our waste. So that's much more about thinking how we can use something, collect that resource, transform it into something else and reuse it and make it into another product. So from a startup perspective, thinking about how linear is really unsustainable and resource intensive, whereas if we're moving to the circular model, it's about minimizing waste, reusing materials and designing products for longevity. You may need to have a little bit of a rethink about how your business could move into this. But as I say, you're in the right place at the right time because you're just at the beginning of this journey. And additionally, this means that you're saving costs, you're reducing your environmental impact and increasing your appeal to your customers. So think circular and prioritize sustainability from the outset to build a resilient and responsible business. Just a little bit of an example here. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but there is a ban coming in the UK from October. That is a ban on single-use plastics. So that's for certain types of cutlery and polystyrene cups, mainly affecting the takeaway food industry, for example. However, by switching to a circular economy, it means that you will preempt these kind of policy and legal changes. You know, these things are going to come down the line. There's lots and lots more options where people are going to say, this is not sustainable anymore. If you can get ahead of the curve, your business is more sustainable. And I just found out about a company yesterday in India that is using edible packaging. So imagine that you get your takeaway and then your dessert is the tray that it came in. Fantastic idea. Here's an example, if we go on to the next slide, of what a circular economy looks like in terms of a business. This is the company that I actually get my trainers from. They're called Hilo Athletic. They are circular because I buy the trainers from Hilo Athletic. I wear them. They're actually made from corn and rubber. Once I've finished using the trainers and they're worn out, I've got a cardboard box that I can send back to Hilo, and they compost my trainers for me. So there's no waste. And they're not hideously expensive. They're the same price as what any other decent running shoe would cost you. They're created by an ex-footballer himself as well. But it's that thought at the beginning to say, hang on a minute, we don't need to create a whole load of waste just from people wanting to exercise. We can do something that is actually really functional for society. So it means that I can go out and I can walk and I can run with peace of mind, as a consumer. I know my trainers are not contributing to the problem. Fascinating little option there. So is there something that you can think of that you could do to make you stand out from the crowd as well? These are the concepts that we might want to start thinking about. Now, this is a bit of a full-on slide for most people, but it is something that is going to be incredibly important going forward. This is about how to get to grips with your carbon footprint. As a sustainability teacher and trainer, this is probably one of the most important slides that anybody could ever have a look at. And it's really also important for businesses going forward, because this is what you're going to be assessed on increasingly. So there is a piece of legislation and a mandate for large companies in the UK to report their climate risk in what's called a TCFD report. And this means that they have to disclose their risk of their business to climate change, including their carbon footprint. That applies to businesses like Tesco. However, you think, oh, well, that's got nothing to do with me. But Tesco needs to also include what's called their scope 3, which is usually their supply chain. So if you are in that supply chain, no matter where you are in that supply chain, Tesco will start asking their supply chain for their carbon footprint information. So even though you are not in the top 1,300 companies that will have to legally report it, you may be asked. And again, that might have an implication as to whether you continue to be a supplier to those bigger suppliers, so bigger companies, or remain part of the chain at some point. So just briefly, we're talking about scope 1 here. Scope 1 is the energy and fuels that you consume yourself as a business. So if you've got a factory and you've got a fleet of cars, company-owned vehicles, and the things that you use on site, that's what you're looking at in terms of scope 1. Usually, you can find the information through your electricity and gas bills. If you are a startup and you're working in a small office, you might need to find that out from a landlord and get a share of that information. Or if you're working from home, you may proportion the amount that you're using from your home office. Scope 2 is from the emissions that are generated from the electricity that you purchase. So again, that's your electricity bill. And scope 1 and scope 2 are really within your control, because that's you as your business. Unfortunately, scope 1 and scope 2 only really averagely represent about 10% of your total footprint. What we need to actually look at and think about is scope 3. Scope 3 is everything else. So that's all about upstream and downstream in terms of how things get delivered to you and how you send them out to your customers. The use of your product, the end-of-life treatment of your product, any commuting that's happening, and the processing of your products, investments, franchises, business travel. And that's really to do with you and your supply chain. So again, you're very much at an advantage because you're in the startup. So you've got the ability to choose the right suppliers who are going to help you have a lower carbon footprint. So again, This is quite a big subject, not necessarily something that we can go into a lot of detail today, but that is something that I can help you with if you need that going forward. As I mentioned, scope 3 is the biggest part of your footprint, 90% there. And these are the things that you really need to think about when you're going to measure your carbon footprint, when your customers are going to ask you for that information. Usually you can pick out some of the top areas where you're spending the most, and that will usually be where the most of your footprint is. But as I mentioned earlier, if you look at adopting the circular economy, the waste section there should be pretty low already. And there's just some things about, again, putting into your sustainability plan, thinking about your goals, your mission, your vision, creating that culture that will mean when it comes to looking at your scope 3, you've already made the right choices. You already have those policies in place. So pretty tricky. And just an example on the next slide as well. This is our company that most people might recognize, Apple. And as you can see on the left-hand side of their of this graph, that they're saying that they've got 0% emissions from electricity, so all of their supply is renewable for their scope 2. For their scope 1, the direct emissions are less than 1%. So 99% of their emissions lie in their scope 3. And that will be to do largely with the mining of all the minerals, as you can see in product manufacturing there. 76% is in the product manufacturing part of their scope 3. So they know the area that they need to tackle. But when you see things like this, this is demonstrating what Apple's measuring, but then they will be asking their suppliers, can you provide that information, and what are you going to do to help me reach my net zero targets, because I need you to do that so that I can reach my net zero targets. So what can you do to reduce your footprint? As I've mentioned, it's about being more energy efficient, using renewable energy sources, as choosing the suppliers and partners that have commitments to sustainability, implementing strategies to reduce waste, and thinking about packaging as well, eco-friendly designs, thinking about that circular economy principle. And you don't have to do this on your own either. A key part of sustainable startups is about collaborating with others. And that's because startups face a lot of resource constraints and also need some external expertise. The benefit of collaborating means you've got access to knowledge and resources and networks, but obviously also Uttlesford is very kindly providing a lot of that in terms of sharing knowledge and providing resources for you, as Rachel mentioned earlier. You can create partnerships with NGOs, industry peers, other sustainability experts, and other companies that align with your sustainability vision. And there's a collective impact here. So for example, if you've got a coffee shop, you may have a lot of coffee grinds. If you partnered with a beauty company that's in the same locality as you, they could use those coffee grinds to make a beauty scrub. It's reducing that waste. You don't have to get rid of that waste. It reduces your footprint. It means that that you're selling your waste. You're making another area where you can increase your profits. It's another revenue stream by selling your waste. And that beauty company has got something local. They know that it's all authentic, and then they can reuse that and sell it at a low price rather than importing something from somewhere else. So collaboration is really key as well. Don't be frightened. We're not in a competitive society anymore. We're in a collaborative society. We need to take advantage of that. And I'll give you an example in the next slide as well. So you might not think about what dairy farming and a curling stone manufacturer might have in common, but actually it's sustainability. So the net zero program that I mentioned earlier, these are two companies that are part of another one of those net zero accelerator programs, and they were together on that business transformation program, talking to each other. And the dairy farmer said to the curling stone manufacturer, what do you do with your waste? You know, you get the stone. Obviously, you make the lovely curling stones for the Olympics and for the competitions and for the teams around the world. And what do you do with that excess stone? And the curling company said, well, we get some trucks and they come in and they take the stone away and we pay for them to manage that waste. And the dairy farmer said, well, can I have that? And they said, yeah, of course. It's going to save us money. Dairy farmer was like, great, that helps me. That's got some aggregate for my stone building, for my walls and for my roads and pathways and all those kind of things. Perfect. Where do you live? The companies were half a mile down the road from each other, but they never would have connected unless they started talking in this Net Zero Accelerator program and were focused on sustainability. So it just shows you that you can think about connecting with people that you may never have even thought about could help your business. So another interesting example there. And then what we find as well is that, you know, you need to talk about what you're doing with sustainability, but that is a little bit of a minefield as well, because some people get accused of being greenwashing, which is about not communicating honestly or accurately about your sustainability. But it's really important because marketing shapes your sustainability image, and it also helps you connect with those conscious customers that you're reaching out to. So try and avoid any misleading or exaggerated claims. Make sure that everything that you're doing is backed up by data, by your actions. Be honest. Say about the things that you've done, things that you're working on, and the things that are too difficult at the moment, but they're on your list and you will get to them shortly. Make sure all your claims are really genuine, especially as now going forward, the Advertising Standards Agency and the Competition and Markets Authority are really cracking down on greenwashing and removing adverts and giving fines out to companies that are not communicating their sustainability efforts truthfully. So we're thinking about being authentic, being transparent, building trust, and avoiding greenwashing. I do have a course, Carbon Literacy for Marketing Professionals, that will help you identify and avoid greenwashing, because, as again, can't go into all the details during today's webinar, but there's an opportunity there to connect with me for that, or hire a sustainability marketing professional, align with your goals and make sure the people that you're working with also understand what you're trying to achieve. So we're nearly there. So here are the steps that a startup should consider when you're thinking about integrating sustainability. So first of all, create a sustainability plan. This should articulate your company's purpose beyond just a profit. You can develop a set of core values that reflect your commitment to sustainability and guide decision making. Think about how you can measure your impact as well. There's a free tool called Small 99. If you have a Google of that, or I can put the link in the chat. They're brilliant in terms of you being able to get a very quick, rough and ready footprint of what your business will be in terms of emissions, and also then help you plan out some steps that you can take to logically reduce that. Very easy, very simple, very straightforward and free. So identify the areas where you can make the most significant improvements and start taking action. Make sure that those sustainability goals align with your business objectives. You know, make them smart, make them specific, make them achievable, make them time-bound, make them relevant. Make sure you involve everybody. So, you know, potential employees, anybody that's coming to help you out, investors, customers, as I keep going on about, suppliers. All these people will help you get there. And as I've mentioned, communicate your commitment and involve those people in your decision making too. Explore any sustainable options that you have for your products and services when we're talking about the circular economy. Consider eco-friendly materials, energy efficient processes, and talk to your supply chain about how they can help you do that. And make sure that also it's an opportunity to collaborate with suppliers and improve your sustainability. Working in partnership with other people can amplify your impact and also provide some insights. Share your sustainability journey with your customers, put it in your marketing materials and your website, on your social media. You will be attracting a whole new tribe, and make sure that obviously you're transparent about that and regularly report on your achievements to build trust with your stakeholders. All of this is achievable. There's education and training out there. As I say, I do provide that myself. There's lots of support if you have a look on the web too. Stay informed about any evolving sustainability trends, any legal requirements, any consumer preferences that are coming up. Sustainability is a journey. It's not a destination. So it's about making sure that you're constantly progressing, adapting strategies, reducing emissions, thinking about redesigning something, seeking opportunities, talking about it. It's fun. It's a new way to do things. It's really interesting. So, as I say, I provide carbon literacy training, so that education to understand what climate change is all about. I also provide webinars like this in case anybody else is interested in different types of webinars. I do everything from environmental well-being right up to how to reduce your plastic use. In-person or online workshops as well, where you can get together and have different activities in order to reduce your emissions and become more sustainable. I do one-to-one coaching sessions, as I've mentioned, to make sure that your business is aligned and you're achieving your sustainability goals, and also the Net Zero Accelerator program, where those case studies came from. It's a brilliant program. If you're interested, do drop me a line. It's something that is really transforming businesses and giving them the advantages of switching to that sustainable mindset and sustainable business. So what have we found out today? Well, integrating sustainability isn't a trend. It's a really strategic move that can lead to cost savings, enhanced reputation, and greater resilience. And all of that was backed up by the evidence. The numbers don't lie. They speak volumes about the positive impacts of sustainability. And I walked you through some of those core principles. It's a good idea to get a good foundation in sustainability. And so think about different courses or different consultants you might want to bring in to help you with that. And then, as I mentioned, talked about those case studies that say that success really is linked to sustainability today. It's the new secret sauce. It's that magic ingredient that you need for your business to become atmospheric, you know. Let those inspire you to embark on that sustainability journey with confidence, knowing that it is bringing those rewards to those customers. And creating your sustainability roadmap is a crucial step. Tailor it to your business's needs and aspirations. And as I mentioned, I've got a range of services that can help you through every step of the way. This commitment to sustainability is a real positive change for good. It's not just about what you can do for your business, it's also about what your business can do for the world. So I think that's about time where we can open the floor for any questions today.
Thanks, Annie. We did have a question from Fiona at the beginning, actually. She runs a human-centered design consultancy, predominantly in healthcare, and they facilitate a lot of events. She'd be interested to know what your reflections are on the environmental impact of in-person or versus online events and how to assess this.
Oh, brilliant question, because yes, that's something that I'm looking at a lot coming up to possibly creating another course specifically for people that organise and arrange events. So as I say to most people, the answer to every question that I get usually starts with, it depends. So if everybody is very close by and actually doing it online may actually have a larger footprint than if everybody got to a venue that was powered with renewable energy and they all walked and cycled or used an electric form of transport. So thinking about the types of events that you do, it's about trying to encourage people to do things, maybe incorporating the health aspect of that, to say, rather than telling people, oh, this is an in-person event, and giving them how to drive and how to park and, you know, all that kind of information. Forget it. Tell them about how they can cycle, how they can walk, how they can car share, how they can get their public transport. And it's a really interesting psychological shift that we can make with people. It's proven that if you pop plant-based options at the beginning of a food menu, people are more likely to choose that than actually go to the next page and choose something that's not plant-based. Same in the canteen. If you put those options at the beginning of the canteen, people are more likely to choose them than wait till the end of the canteen to find something different. And it's just how us humans work. So if you can take advantage of that, especially if you're talking to people about health, it's about making those choices, tapping into the fact that they want to be healthy, not just for themselves, but also if they're, you know, out and about in the countryside, they want fresh air. They want to make sure that, you know, the NHS can save a lot of money if we're all healthier, not only from air pollution, but yeah, more active travel. So I'd say if you've got people that are wanting to come to your events and they're from Australia, Brazil, and Canada, then perhaps, yes, an online version would be much better. But if they're very local, then just consider about making this a shift into encouraging people to have their own choices and make their mindset, make those mindset in a different way. And that starts the ripple effect where people start thinking about, oh yeah, I could actually just have got the bus, or I know that, you know, my friend's going, so why don't we go together? And those are the ways that we can minimize our footprint and minimize our emissions, and also not make it all about the environment and sustainability. It's about the things that they're interested in. They're interested in health, so talk to them about it from a health perspective. And then people are interested and they may think, well, actually, that's a good idea. I should have cycled. There are cycle storage facilities at the event where I'm going to, so it makes sense, right? So again, it all depends. The other part of events that often gets overlooked, the food choices, basically the catering. So I often get very confused when I go to net zero events and I get the choice of cheese. Cheese comes from cows. Cows emit methane and are incredibly huge contributors to climate change. So from a net zero event, I still have to remind people that dairy is not low carbon. You know, chicken is much better than dairy. So yeah, thinking about those things as well. And again, you know, doctors have been telling people forever that red meat and processed meat is not good for you from a health perspective. It's also not good from a planet perspective. So if we think about it from that way, it's about saying, oh, we've provided a healthy lunch, not only for you, but for 8 billion of us on the planet. And again, starts getting people having that conversation about what is actually a healthy option for us going forward. Not just from the scientists, the doctors are on board as well. So hopefully that's given you some ideas about events and how they could map out in a different way, depending whether they're online or in person.
We're getting a thumbs up from Fiona, so I think that's a yes. Thanks, Annie. I was going to mention actually the DigiGo bus, which Annie won't know anything about, but if anybody in Uttlesford, it's not in the whole of Uttlesford yet, certainly in the bottom section of our district, but the DigiGo bus is it's kind of like a Uber bus, I suppose, minibus that goes round and you can book. And we've been trying to encourage like residents to use that if they're going to things, you know, events and that kind of thing. So that's something to consider, Fiona, if you are going to put on any events within the district. And it might, it kind of covers Chelmsford, which is obviously not in our district, but it's south of us. And it's going all the way up to near the airport. So it might be that that's something you can use as well. And it's not really a question, but I will mention it from Katrina, who's just kind of told us a bit about what she's where she's from and what she's doing. So she's just set up a pre-loved children's clothing brand with her sister. They're a pop-up shop shop popping up around Saffron Walden, so in our district, so that's the north of the district. And she was just kind of interested at the beginning in learning more about how to hone in on the greenness and on their greenness and use it as a marketing approach. So hopefully kind of what you've mentioned in the webinars kind of helped her. But if you have got any more questions, Katrina, about kind of like anything specific to your business, then please do either unmute yourself or just pop it in the chat. There's not too many of us on the webinar, so if you do want to say anything, anybody, then that's fine. I think Fiona's just saying thank you, so yeah, perfect. Oh, Trisha, do you want to, you can unmute yourself and just ask a question if you'd like.
Hiya, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hiya, thank you for that. Found it really interesting. I own a sweet shop in Dunmow, and I try to use as much sustainable material as possible, like sustainable cardboard, biodegradable plastic, and I also offer incentives to our customers, like if they use a certain container, if they bring it back to be filled with sweets, they get 10% off. So that's the kind of thing that works really well with our customers. I try to use anything but plastic, but occasionally when I order from the suppliers, it comes in plastic containers. So you imagine the old plastic jars that you get with the lids on. Yeah. I did have someone last year from a local school coming to collect them from me, the empty ones, because they use them in their art department, but that stopped. And I just wondered whether, if you talk about a collaborative community, whether there was an area, maybe this is for Rachel, that where we could share things like that, where I would quite happily donate them to a good cause.
Idea. Yeah,
or rather than stick them in recycling.
Definitely, I'll definitely put it to the team. I think it could be something we could share on our socials. It might be something we set up a new group or something that we can, anything that's like that. I heard of some similar situation where somebody was trying to get rid of tires, like old tires, and one of the farms kind of said, we want those because that's great for kind of like a community farm. They wanted it for their I don't know, livestock to run all over or whatever. But yeah, I think there's definitely a need for that, like getting people together to collaborate. So definitely something we can consider moving forward. Yeah, great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to pick up on what Katrina said there in terms of how to hone in on her greenness and use it as a marketing approach to attract more customers to shop sustainably. One thing is great is just to get people who've already shopped or are shopping with you to provide a recommendation, a quote, something along the lines of, as I was saying, it doesn't always necessarily have to be about sustainability. It could be the fact that it's a case of saying, oh, I've saved so much money by going to the pre-loved place, and making that a normal choice rather than going to somewhere, and also saying about how parents could help. A lot of times people buy stuff for kids and they never end up wearing it. Having those conversations and thinking about saying it'd be great if we've already got loads of stuff, or could you use those and donate it to the pre-loved place, or could you purchase from the pre-loved place rather than buying from somewhere where it's all new? So again, changing those mindsets, having those conversations, using your socials to shout about all the people that are saying, isn't this fantastic? And again, trying to use it from different angles about how people have found it from a different perspective. So it's not always just about the green stuff, but it just demonstrates that your pre-loved idea is brilliant. There's one more question. Any more sustainable marketing type events for sustainable business to showcase their ideas? I think that'd be a really good idea. I created an eco fair in where I lived, and just changed the market from its regular stalls and got a whole load of sustainable stalls along. It's fabulous.
I think that's great, and we're doing we're setting up some new stalls in Saffron Walden, actually some new markets in Saffron Walden. It might be something we could do within that, like integrate that. We want to do one for young entrepreneurs, but it might be something that we could add another one that's all about sustainable products.
Fabulous. Yeah.
Before we go, Rachel, sorry, can I just for Katrina, really, I'd love to know Katrina's contact details, because I've got loads and loads of lovely clothes that I could send her.
If Katrina's happy, then
I'll
Katrina, if you're happy to.
Willing to get more.
There we are. Well, I'll say
always
if you're happy,
looking for
if
them.
you're happy, Katrina, I'll send on
Yeah,
your
of
email
course.
address to
Thank
Trisha.
you,
Yeah,
that would be
that's fine.
Brilliant.
brilliant.
Thank you.
And I love your sweet shop, by the way. I visit all the time.
There you go.
This
I love
shared
all
love.
this.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I'll
Well,
ping
this is
that
a
over to
potential
you.
collaboration option.
There
You
we
see,
are.
yeah. Just what I was talking about. And I love this kind of stuff because then that makes me feel really good that people are connecting on all sorts of different levels,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
making much more sustainable business community as well, which is great to support each other rather than trying to always compete, because that's just not healthy.
No, definitely. When I had a business, I was collaborating with people because I think you just it shares your business with so many more people because they're that you haven't necessarily got on your network. So I definitely am up for the collaboration of the world. So yeah, well, thank you all for joining us. I think I know Annie, you'd got a load of notes on here about kind of your reviews. I think everybody can kind of tell how brilliant you are. So yeah, I will share all these slides, and obviously the reviews will be within that. So thank you. Here are your contact details for anybody that wants to follow Annie on any social media or email her. As I say, I will send out the slides to everybody after the event, and I'll try and pull this video together as well and get that out to everybody. So if you want to show anybody else, share it, then please do with anybody else in your kind of like business community, and we can hopefully build a bit of a collaboration. And yeah, I think it'd be great if we could trade some of our things that we don't need, like you don't need, Trisha, those pots, but I'm sure other people will could make use of them. So thank you all for joining. Thank you, Annie, for all your insights and knowledge. And yeah, I hope that if anybody wants to get in touch with either Annie or myself, then please do. And we're here to help and advise as we can. Yeah, but wonderful. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Annie, again. And we will see you all soon.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.
Thank you.